99%. The margin of error is plus or minus 2.44%. And he did a survey between the 20th and the 23rd of October 2025. And as I said, these are delegates from 270 out of the 276 constituencies in the region. Now, when you look at the absolute numbers of the 2,643 people, he picked 527 of them from the Greater Accra region, 437 of them from the Ashanti region, 343 of them from the Eastern region, 220 from the Central region. The Western region had 212 of delegates, Northern region 168, the Volta region had 151, Bono region 104, Bono East 103, Upper East 100, that is 100, Western North 74, Upper West 60, OT region 56, Northeast 49, Ahafo 48, and the Savannah region 47. Now, if you want a bit of a agenda, you want to know how many people responded to the poll. The female population was 76%, and the female population was 24%, and the male population was 76%. Now, this is the age band. Between 18 and 24 form 1%, 25 to 34, 15%, then 35 to 44 is 44%. So they are the dominant age band when it comes to this poll. Also, 45 to 54 are 30%. Then 55 to 64 are 7%. Then those above the age of 65 are 3%. Now, if you want the educational background, and this is very interesting, the delegate, the 2,643 he polled, 39% of them have JHS education, 31% have SHS education, 21% have tertiary education, and those not in any formal education are just 9%. So it tells you that of the delegate he polled, the majority have their highest education being the JHS poll. Now let's go to where you are, itching to hear. When you go to the poll by Musa Dankwa, he indicates that the summary of the poll showed that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia had 44%, Kennedy Ohene Japan had 19%, Dr. Brian Echampong had 5%, Educhum had 1%, and Kwame Japan have 1%. But what is interesting is that those who didn't disclose where they will vote have jumped up to 15%, then undecided is also 15%. Now, this is where it's interesting. When you compare the October poll to the September poll, you see that Bawumia reduced by 3 percentage points from 47 to 44. Kennedy Japan has also increased by 2 percentage points, same for Dr. Brian Echampong. Now, Musa Dankwa in the survey tried to say that the undecided people won't push to the wall are likely to go in favor of Kennedy Ohene Japan. So let's test the theory. Now, what is interesting is that when you compare those who answered the survey in September to October, those who say they won't disclose, because the undisclosed and undecided are two different things. So let me explain. Undisclosed basically means that I'll vote, but I won't tell you. Undecided means that I've not really decided where I'll vote for, but I will vote. So there's a bit of nuance in there. Now, when you go to the regional breakdown, let me give you the top 3 candidates, the regional breakdown, the regions they are getting most of their votes from. When you go to Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, in the Greater Accra region is where he's getting most of his votes from. That is culminating into the 44%. That is 17%. In the Ashanti region, he's gotten about 16%. In the Northern region, he's doing 10%. Same for the Western region. And doing 8% for both the Eastern and the Central region. So these are the top 6 regions that is shoring up Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia's vote. Now, when you go to Dr. Brian Echampong, the Ashanti region is giving him a whopping 35%, whilst the Eastern region, where he's claimed to be the governor, is giving him 17%, the Greater Accra region 16%, the Central region 7%, the Western region 4%, and also the Western North region 4%. So that is also the top 6 regions for Dr. Brian Echampong. When you go to Kennedy Ohene Japan, the Ashanti region is his biggest selling point, 25%, the Greater Accra region 16%, the Eastern region 13%, the Western region 11%, and his own backyard, the Central region, be 6%. But these are percentages. In absolute figures, the picture will change because, as I told you, Kennedy is doing 19% when you aggregate everything. Bawumia is doing 44%, and Dr. Brian Echampong is doing 5%. Now, you know that if Brian Echampong, for example, is doing 35% in Ashanti region, 35 of 5% is lesser compared to Kennedy's 25%, whilst he is doing 19% when you aggregate everything. So in percentage terms, it may seem that Brian is dominating in Ashanti region 35% compared to Bawumia 17% and Kennedy Ohene Japan 25%. But in absolute terms, when you do the numbers, you notice that rather Bawumia is doing better in the Ashanti region than the two of them, because 17% of 44% is bigger than 25% of 19% and also 35% of 5%, which is the absolute score of the three candidates. Now, what Musa Dankwa did in the survey is also to highlight the key regions where they are performing and try to compare the top 5 regions and where their vote is coming from. So basically what he did was that he isolated 5 top regions and decided to compare their strength when it comes to these 5 regions. When you go to the Greater Accra region, all the top 3 candidates, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, Kennedy Ohene Japan, Dr. Brian Echampon, are all doing 16% for the Greater Accra region. When you go to the Ashanti region, as I said, Dr. Brian Echampon is doing 35%, but 35% of his absolute 5 figure will certainly be lesser compared to Kennedy's 25% and also DMB's 16% in the Ashanti region. When you go to the Eastern region, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is doing 8%, Kennedy is doing 13%, and Dr. Brian is doing 17%. When you go to the Central region, DMB is doing 8%, Kennedy is doing 6%, and also Brian Echampon doing 7%. When you go to the Western region, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is doing 10%, Kennedy is doing 11%, and Brian Echampon doing 4%. So this is basically the results of his October poll. But let me read for you what he said himself in the summary. Let me just read the 2 paragraphs for you. My producer Leo wants me to read that before you go. It said that the new poll conducted by the Global Info Analytics for the month of October shows Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia maintaining a healthy lead among NPP delegates despite a slip dip in his polling numbers compared to September 2025. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia still leads among likely delegate voters with 44% compared to his main rival Kennedy Japan, who trails by 19%. Dr. Brian Echampon is in 3rd place with 5%, Dr. Osei-Tutu 1%, and Kwabena Japan 1%. However, 15% of the delegates decline to disclose their choice, even though they have made their mind, whilst another 15% are yet to decide. The poll showed that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia lost 3% votes compared to September 2025 poll. Honorable Kennedy Japan gained 2%, Brian Echampon gained 2%, while the poll show a sharp decline in delegates who are undecided from 27% to 15%. Now that's interesting. When he did it in September, 27% were undecided. When he did in October, they are now 15%, meaning that it's reduced by 12%, but meaning that more people are trying to decide where they are voting. And whilst more people are trying to decide what they are voting for, Bawumia has declined by 3 percentage points, Kennedy has increased by 2 percentage points, Brian Echampon has increased by 2 percentage points. So meaning that you can simply infer that by November, if these 12% or this 15% also reduced to say 3%, because they reduced by 12 percentage points from September to October, there's a likelihood that the more people decide to know where they are voting, whether they will vote or not, those votes are likely to go in favor of Kennedy Japan. Now it goes further to say that the poll showed no significant change in delegate choice when it comes to a runoff. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia in a runoff obtains 46%, while Kennedy Japan secures 23% and 15% do not disclose their choice. So Musa Dankwa is basically saying that people have said that, oh, because of how close the contest is, because it will be a cliffhanger of an election, there will be a runoff. He's saying that when there's a possible runoff, Bawumia maintains a decent lead of 46%, whilst Kennedy Japan will do just about 23%, with 15% not deciding where they will vote to. Now let's do more analysis on the runoff. It says, analysis of the runoff data shows that while Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia maintains 96% of his votes from the first round, Kennedy Japan only maintains 92%. What is that? He's basically saying that when they goes into a runoff, it's the same delegate who will vote. Bawumia will maintain about 96% of the people he got in the first round, whilst Kennedy will do just about 92%, giving Bawumia a 4 percentage point advantage. It says, the poll also showed that in the runoff, 31% of Dr. Brian Echampon's voters will vote for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, while 70% will vote for Kennedy Japan. That's very curious. Very, very curious. For Duchum voters, 31% will vote for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, whilst 39% will vote for Kennedy Japan. That basically means that aside Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, almost every vote the person is getting, if they are not able to secure the first round or conclude the election the first round, most of those votes will go in favor of Kennedy Japan. So basically, Mahmoud Bawumia is winning 44%, Kennedy 19%, Brian 5%, Educhum 1%, Kennedy 1%. So that's basically how the NPP scorecard will look. Someone will be adding and say, where are the 30? The 30, 15% say they won't disclose, 15% say they are undecided. In September, they were 27%, and now they are 15%. So that is a bit of context for the Global Info Analytics poll for October. My name is Eugene Osei-Tutu. This has been another episode of The Breakdown. Leo produced this one. Thank you for listening.